Hi everybody, here's an Algebra 1 review video on the concept of a function or not. Today, after watching this video, you should be able to define the mathematical terms relation and function and decide if a given relation is a function or not. Like we've said, Algebra 1, we tend to focus on four types of functions: linear, exponential, quadratic, and absolute value. Now, these have patterns that exist in the real world, but not every pattern that exists in the real world is a function. If you want to be successful in Algebra 1, you need to be able to recognize these functions and recognize when something is not a function. So let's start by thinking about a vending machine and how it relates to relations and functions. A relation is a pairing of inputs and outputs. Think of the vending machine's keypad. How does it represent a relation? Well, the input, not the $1.25 you put in, are the keys you type in, the A6 or the C8. And the output is the machine dispensing the candy. Hopefully the right candy from the right slot. Now, we can organize relations and functions using tables, which you're used to seeing. Instead of x and y, though, this one has an input of an ID number and the output of a specific snack. We can also organize relations into mappings. Now, mappings allow us to visually see how things are connected. So, for example, A2 gives me bugles, A4 gives me Ruffles, D6 give me Snickers. Since peanut M&Ms occur in two different places, we could write our mapping to show that C6 and C8 both go to peanut M&Ms. Now that's okay because peanut M&Ms are, after all, popular. Okay, so when you are ordering something from a vending machine, you're going to insert your money and then you're going to type in some sort of code, say C6. Now, the worst thing that can happen is when you type in your code for the wrong candy to come out. So if you type in C6 and you get Fig Newtons, you're going to be pretty upset. We would say that this vending machine wasn't functioning very well. So which one of these two vending machines would cause problems? The one on the left or the one on the right? The inputs are keypad numbers, and the outputs are candy. Pause the video and decide which one would be an issue. All right. I think the vending machine on the left is all right, and the vending machine on the right is going to cause us trouble. It's okay for the vending machine on the left for D0 and D2 to give both of us Twix, because after all, Twix are popular. But I would have a real problem with the vending machine on the right. If I press D7 thinking I'm going to get some Three Musketeers, I'm going to be pretty upset if I end up getting Gobstoppers. So the vending machine on the left is going to represent a function, and the vending machine on the right is not. Here's why. The definition of a function is a relationship where each input has only one output. So, the first skill we want to have is to determine if a mapping is a function. One of these three mappings is not a function. Can you determine which it is? All right, this mapping is not a function because one input goes to more than one output. When you talk about this, you want to use the language, this mapping is not a function because one input, -7, goes to more than one output, 5 and 4. Think about that as typing in your code and sometimes getting peanut M&Ms and sometimes getting Fig Newtons. Even for those of you who like Fig Newtons, You want to know whether you're going to get peanut M&Ms or fig Newtons before you press the button. You don't want it to be up to question. The next skill is to determine if a table is a function. One of these three tables is not a function. Can you determine which one? All right, a table is not a function if one input goes to two different outputs. In this case, the input of -3 goes to two different outputs, 11 and 19. That's not a function. Finally, I can determine if a graph is a function. Now, this one's a little bit harder because when we look at graphs, we tend to not think of inputs and outputs as often as we do for tables and mappings. So this is the graph that is not a function. It's not a function because one of its inputs goes to two different outputs. In this case, when x equals 9, which I've represented with this red vertical line, we can see that there's the output y equals -1 and y equals 7. This is called failing the vertical line test because I drew a vertical line on the graph and it hit two different points. Now, with this particular graph, I could draw a vertical line in several different places to show that it's not a function. I only need one of those places, but this one fails the vertical line in multiple places. So here is the vertical line test. A graph is a function if no vertical line intersects the graph at more than one point, or if a vertical line intersects a graph at more than one point, then the graph is not a function. All right, thanks for watching. Hope that was informative.